welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited to finally be back, and I thought for our first video I would do some fun Halloween books for the month of October. If you've been around for a while, you know that last year in the month of October I did a video on not so Halloween books where I talked about different books that you can use in your classroom that don't focus on the holiday, but more so bats and pumpkins and things that you find around the month of October but don't talk about the holiday. I'll leave a link to that in the description box down below so you can check that one out as well. But today's books are all about Halloween and the fun, spooky, slimy things you find around the holiday. But first, if you're new here, my name is Sarah. I'm from The Colorful Apple, and I love to share picture books and novels that you can share with your students in your classroom right away. Now, let's jump into those Halloween books. The first one I have is called Halloween is Coming, and this one's fairly new. I believe it came out last year. This is a great one for younger elementary students. It's a very simple book. There's some rhyming, some repetitiveness in it, but I love the diverse characters that you find throughout the story. And this book is all about how you know that Halloween is coming. It's that excitement that builds within kids that they know that the holiday is coming up and the things they might see to get excited about the holiday. So the corn mazes, or the leaves falling, or the pumpkins that they see at the farmer's market. All of these are clues that this exciting holiday is coming up. So I think especially younger students will really like this one and will build that excitement for Halloween. So this is a great Halloween book to share in your classroom. Okay, the next two books are really fun because they're about characters that are not really in the mood for Halloween. You might even say they're a little bit cranky. So if that gave you any clue, the first one is Trick or Treat Frankenstein. I love Frankenstein because he really targets those kids, or those emotions that kids feel when things don't go exactly their way. How they feel cranky when things don't turn out how they think they're going to. And that's exactly how Frankenstein feels on Halloween. It's his favorite holiday, believe it or not, but sometimes things aren't always going his way. For example, his brother might make fun of his costume, or it might be raining on Halloween and ruin his costume, or he goes to the house that gives out toothbrushes instead of candy. Those are all gonna make Frankenstein come out. But you'll have to read to the end to see if he ends his Halloween on a cranky note or his favorite holiday on a happy note. A great one to read with students and to really talk about how things might not be what we picture in our minds, but that's okay. They can still have a lot of fun even if things are a little bit different. And that goes along with this book, which is part of one of my favorite series, The Good, the Bad, and the Spooky by Jory John and Pete Oswald. It's part of that very famous series that I'm sure we all know about. This one talks about the bad seed, and very similar to the Frankenstein book, the bad seed is so excited for Halloween and he can't wait, but something happens. He doesn't have the best costume. He really wants the most amazing costume ever, but he can't quite find it. He can't quite picture what he wants to be, and it puts him in a rather bad mood, if you get what I mean. And so he decides to play a trick on everyone else just because he can't find the costume, because he's in that bad mood. But then he realizes that Halloween's not just about having the best costume or everything going perfectly. It's about friends and family and community and having fun. Another great one that has a good lesson for students about how things don't always go as planned, but you can still have a lot of fun. A great Halloween book to share with your students this October. This next book kind of reminds me of the first one I shared. This one is called Pick a Pumpkin. It's about all the things that we do that lead up to Halloween and again, build that excitement for the holiday. This one is about picking out the perfect pumpkin and the steps that you take to turn it into a jack-o'-lantern. You go and you find one, you bring it home, you clean it, you take out all the insides and carve it. Then it becomes a jack-o'-lantern. And when when you hang up all of your decorations and put your costume on, it's finally Halloween. Such a great Halloween book to share with your students. Now the next couple are more about things that are spooky or haunted or slimy and not so much about the holiday, but definitely connect to Halloween and this time of year. So this first one is called Hardly Haunted, and this is by Jessie Seema, who is the author of Not Quite Norwal, if you've read that one. In this book, there's a house and she's for sale, but nobody wants to buy her. And she's thinking, what's wrong with me? Why does nobody want to get by me? And then she realizes maybe it's because she's haunted. Maybe because of the cobwebs and the creepy sounds that nobody wants to be near her or to buy her, to live in her. And so she decides to change herself. She decides that she's not going to be haunted anymore and she's going to work really hard to not be creepy, but it doesn't really work. And then she realizes that's not what she likes to be. She likes to be haunted. That's who she is. And she wants to stay true to herself. And eventually, a very spooky family comes to live in this haunted house. So even though this book is kind of a Halloween spooky book, it's a great one to share with students about being you, being true to yourself. And I think that's such an important lesson for them to learn. The next book that I have is called Franken Slime. And in this story, Victoria Franken loves to make different types of slime. She loves to experiment and try different things. And sometimes it doesn't always work, but she doesn't give up. She sticks with it. This is such a good book to talk about like the scientific method and to talk about how you need to try things over again and to stick with them and not give up. Because eventually she comes up with her best idea yet. She creates a slime monster and she's scared of it. It's following her around and she doesn't know what to do and she tries to hide from it. When she realizes he wants to help her, he wants to be her friend. And so Victoria has a new friend to help her out in her science lab to make all different new kinds of slime. And this last book that I have for you to share in the month of October to follow along with that spooky vibe is a new one called Poltergeist. And it's about a chicken that crosses the road, but he doesn't make it all the way across. He gets hit by a truck. He turns into a ghost, a chicken ghost, and he doesn't really know how to be a ghost. So all of the other animal ghosts help him out to figure out what he needs to do. This is a fun, silly book that I think will make your students laugh, and it's full of puns. Some might go over their heads, but I think they will still like this silly book about what happens when the chicken tries to cross the road. So that is my collection of Halloween books that I think would be great for you to share in your classroom in October. And as I mentioned before, I have some other books that are not so Halloween in case you want to share those as well. And I'll leave a link to that in the description box down below. And in that video, you can also find a free interactive read aloud lesson that you can do with your students. It goes along with the book Bonaparte Falls Apart. A great lesson to share with your students about friends and working together, but it also has that slightly Halloween theme where your students are going to make a skeleton together. So I will leave a link to that in the description box as well, and I hope that you can read some of these books and maybe even do the lesson with your students this October. And stay tuned for next Sunday night's video because it is the beginning of Fire Prevention Week, so I have some picture book read-alouds that you can share with your students all about fire safety. Have a great week!